Hello, I'm Gitanji, Rappler columnist. Joining us today is internationally acclaimed film director Brillante Mendoza. He's here to talk to us about his first horror film, Sapi, which centers on the power, paranoia, and possession. Good day, Brillante.
Good day to you.
Thank you for being here once again. I know you've been here to talk to Maria Ressa in the past. So I'm very excited to talk to you today.
Yes, thank you for having me here.
So I know you premiered Sapi last night.
Yeah, last night it was premiered here in the Philippines, and it will have its regular showing starting today.
Starting today.
Yes.
So how exciting. How was the reception of the Filipino people last night?
Well, if we base it on the premiere last night, with the star attendance and all the, and all the support, not only of the directors but also of the young filmmakers were there last night. It was really very exciting and very encouraging, very inspiring, but at the same time, medyo kinakabahan.
Kinakabahan ka pa? Si Brillante Mendoza? Really?
Of course. Because when you show your film, in the Philippines, in my country, here in the Philippines, no, iba kasi because you're dealing with we're dealing with a Filipino audience, and you know how Filipino audience are, no? They're a bit picky in terms of the kind of films that they watch, even if it's a horror film, no? A horror genre. So medyo hindi ka pwedeng basta lang na, they have this kind of parang this kind of take in terms of the horror genre.
I see. Well, you premiered this film, Sapi, abroad first.
Yes, it was premiered in Toronto, and then it was shown also in Busan, and it was shown in Rio, in Taipei, and where else? Yeah.
So all over the world.
In Spain, in Catalonia. It competed in Catalonia, in Spain, just recently. Yes.
So my question is, why does it get premiered all over the world first before your home country?
Well, it doesn't have to be that way, but since almost all my films actually were premiered abroad, parang and especially in festival, they usually want to have the world premiere. So it's really important for them that if you have a new film, especially my films have been already shown in their festival, so they wanted to have the world premiere.
I see.
Yes. So there's such thing as the world premiere. There is the Asian premiere. There's a European premiere. The South American premiere, and all this kind of
yes.
premiere. Yeah.
So you definitely travel a lot, to say the least, right?
Yeah. Usually I present my film, and normally when we show our film, when I show my film sa mga festival, you have to introduce your film first. Talk a bit about your film, and then you stay for the Q&A. So, I think that's one thing nice, abroad when you show your films, because you get to collaborate, you get to talk about your film with the audience, and the audience get to ask questions about your film, how it's done, and not only about your film, but also Filipino films in general. So you get to talk about, not only about films, but also about your country, about your culture, and all those stuff. So
well, you're representing the Philippines on the global scale in terms of cinema, and that is a big achievement.
Yeah,
you've gotten so many awards, accolades. They're numerous. I can't count them on my hands, Brillante. But let's talk about your process as a director. I was able to talk to Meryl Soriano, who stars in your film.
Yes.
It's interesting to me that they don't really have a script, right? Why is this process something that you work with in terms of your actors?
Yeah, this is the first time I'm doing that. In fact, even with my first feature, I already did that. I don't know. It's just a process that I did, no? Because I always believe in spontaneity. When actors, no matter how good you are, when you memorize your lines, there's this, parang
acting.
Yeah,
acting.
Well, it's not. Maybe yun take ko about acting. No, I don't want them seeing like they're acting, they're performing. It's more of like seeing the real person, the real character on big screen. So it's not. It's not that they don't have a script. We don't have a script. They don't have the physical script.
Right. But you know what's going on. And
exactly.
only you know.
Of course, the writers, the assistant directors, and everyone behind the camera. So, because even writing the script, actually, it's taking us quite some time to really put everything together because you have to do a lot of research. And then, for instance, at one point with Mary's, situation, they have to go through a lot of immersion. She's playing a journalist, she's playing a researcher. So she has to do a lot of research herself, no? In
Yes.
terms of the paranormal activities. She has to do an actual research with mga cult, mga this kind of group, no? So, and not only her, even Baron, even Dennis, Baron has to learn how to use the camera.
Use the camera.
Yes.
But also the names of their characters. Is their real name in real life? I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, and why not? No, I mean there is no rule not to call G, for instance, on big screen. Because well, it's a nice name.
Thank you.
It's a nice name. You can have this name on screen. So why not? Because at one point, during, for instance, okay, may situation, and sometimes there are surprises on the set. Surprises on the set that
and
only
you capture them on
yes,
film.
yes. And sometimes kasi when you have the name of a character that you're playing with, sometimes nakakalimutan. Okay, and then you have to have another take. Then you cannot have that moment anymore because nawala na.
Oo.
Nasabi ng artista, alimbawa, instead of saying Maria, and they go, G, but because they're saying you, so mali na kaagad, no? So, and I am very particular about those moments. These are moments that you cannot have another take, another,
Yes.
Kasi kapag take 2 na, take 3 na. And I'm not a take 2, take 3 director.
You're a take 1 director.
Take 1 director, which actually most actors want, no?
Yes,
Lahat
of
ng artista
course.
nila, ayaw nila yung
paulit-ulit. Kasi iba-iba na.
Yeah.
Right. Interesting.
Yes,
A take
yeah.
1 director. Wow.
That's
Okay.
why I shoot fast. A lot of people, even abroad, they would ask me, how can you make films in, a year or 2 films in a year? I mean, nobody's doing that. Nobody's ever done that. Because that kind of, pacing, abroad medyo nawiwirduhan sila.
Oo,
Because
kasi ang bilis, di ba?
They make films, after 2 years, after 3 years.
Yes. How long did it take you to do Sapi?
Well, actually, Sapi is, so far among all my friends, it's the longest one. Only because we have to really wait for an actual, possession, those kind of stuff,
I see.
And everybody's on call. So my actors.
So these are actual possessions that you
Yes.
captured on film?
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
not recreated?
No, they're not recreated. Well, there's one actually, it was acted by another actress, but there were some scenes also that were actual.
Wow.
That we have to.
Interesting.
Yes. So, it's not just parang acting. It's more of really going.
Parang documentary style, di ba?
And even the way film was, how it was done, and how how I put things together in the film. It's more of like it's a documentary. It's not like the usual, traditional filmmaking where you have nice lighting and all that. And even the editing, it's not that kind. No, medyo may pagka-raw yung film.
So this is your first collaboration with a major studio,
Yes.
Solar.
Yes, Solar. Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
so why, out of all your films, you've decided, because you are known as an independent filmmaker,
Yes.
why the collaboration with
Solar?
With Solar.
Well, basically it started out as because Wilson Cheng actually is managing me.
I
All
see.
right,
Okay.
So and he's only managing 2 talents actually. He's
Just
managing
you.
me and Manny Pacquiao. So just 2 of us. And part of my contract is to make 5 films with Solar. So in a span of 5 years. So but I was able to do 2 already.
All right.
So, in a span of 1 year.
Oh, so mabilis matatapos yung kontrata, di ba?
Yeah. So it started out that way, and at the same time, I'm also a creative consultant for Solar Entertainment. So
see.
this.
So, because you've gotten so much acclaim abroad, it feels like the world stage in terms of cinema really recognizes your talent. I want to know, all these awards, does it translate here in the Philippines? Because, di ba, maraming nananalo ng award.
Yes.
Dream nila manalo ng award.
Yeah.
But is it life-changing?
it's never the same, you know. It's more of like, now you are more not only committed, but you have a responsibility with your film, you know. Unlike before, you just, you know, when I did my first film, I thought I'm just gonna do one film. So, and that's just it, no? Yun lang. Parang after doing this film, I go back to advertising because, you know, it pays good money and all that.
Yes, no, it's true. It's true. Especially as an independent
Yeah.
filmmaker.
Yeah.
You're gambling every single time
Yeah,
you make
exactly,
a film.
exactly. But now it's not only, you know, not only being an independent or doing film. It's more of your commitment to your craft. It becomes a commitment. It becomes an advocacy. Even the kind of films that you make. That even if I make, for instance, an horror genre, it's not just to scare people. It's more of to show, you know, some issues.
Yes,
Yeah,
the issues. So
issues,
each
yeah.
film you make sure that there's some social commentary, correct?
Yes, I think it's already, if there's like a threading, you know, line among all my films from my first feature up to now, where I'm doing an horror genre, I think it's the horror. I mean, it's the social issues that's in the context of the story.
Oo, so
Yeah.
Brillante, napakadami pang pelikula na pwede mong gawin
Ang
because
dami.
ang dami natin
Daming
issue.
problema. Ang daming
Diba?
problema.
Okay.
That's why I was asked, when are you gonna make a, you know, a feel good movie, a romantic movie, and all. You know, there are filmmakers who are very good at that. Okay, and they really, you know, they're really into those kind of films, and they really make good films, you know, that really make people feel good. And
But
you know,
you're not that kind of director.
yes, I think every director, they have their own take, and I think as a filmmaker, like what I've said, no, for me it's more of an advocacy to,
Oo.
you know, to tell people about these issues, even if some issues are, you know, sometimes may mga issue kasi parang, ba't kailangan mo pang sabihin yan? Ba't kailangan pang pakita yan? Especially if your films are, you know, being shown abroad, and people are, you know, they're seeing your film and they're seeing, you know, these problems in our country, you know, and these things, you know, they ask me.
Yeah, because
you
I
know.
mean, Sapi is a horror genre,
Yes, yeah.
very commercial genre, and yet na-inject mo pa rin
Yeah.
yung social commentary mo, di ba?
Yes, oo.
So, I know it's very difficult as an
Yeah.
independent
Yeah.
filmmaker
Yeah.
to create work. Where do you get your funding from? What are the challenges involved in
Yeah.
getting funding to make your films?
Yes, a lot of challenges. Actually, being an independent filmmaker is a struggle in itself.
Yes.
You know? So from the creation of your story up to, would you believe, up to the publicity and promotion. That's part of being an independent filmmaker,
Yes.
because you are everything. You are all into one, no? From being a researcher to the writer to the director and producer and a publicist at the same time.
Yeah, so
And
it's a
distributor.
lot of
It's
work.
a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So mahirap. Kaya lang, if you want to, you know, if you are really into what you are doing, no matter how hard, because you don't find these challenges as parang
Hindi trabaho.
Hindi siya trabaho. These are part of, you accept things as part of the job, no? Lahat naman, hindi lang being a filmmaker, kahit na lawyer ka pa, doctor ka pa, everything is like a work in progress, no? You cannot be, parang, alam mo yun, yung success mo, you're basing it on your awards, on your recognition. It's not that, no? It's more of, ako, the way I see things, the way I see myself as a filmmaker and my work is a work in progress. You never stop
Always
learning.
evolving.
Yeah, you have to. So in terms of funding, okay, there's a lot of ways. There are a lot of ways. Of course, dito sa Pilipinas, mahirap kang lumapit sa isang major network and say, I'm gonna do a film about the blah blah blah, about human trafficking and all that.
They don't want to touch
That's
that, di ba?
What's human trafficking? I don't wanna. So, dun pa lang, konsepto pa lang, wala ka na.
Oo.
So
Do you find a lot of funding abroad then?
not really a lot, but you have to, may mga organization, may mga institution that gives, for instance, funding for film development, parang gano'n, script development. So may
Yes.
mga ganun sila. May post-production funding, may production funds na tinatawag. So you just have to, you know, nasa ano na tayo ngayon nasa virtual world na tayo ngayon. So lahat pwede mo nang pasukan, lahat mo nang
Pwede
kailangan-
kang mag-submit.
pwede
Diba?
kayong mag-discuss, pwede kayong mag-pitch. So marami, magsipag ka lang.
Oo, magsipag ka lang. Okay, before we go to our questions from our social media people that are sending in their tweets. I would just like to ask, Brillante, it seems like you are a filmmaker that is creating waves abroad. You're representing the Philippines on the world stage, and it's so much recognition. What do you want to be remembered as?
Well, at hindi ko iniisip yan, to be very honest. Hindi ko iniisip na parang, I want to be remembered like this, blah, blah, blah. Like what I've always, sa akin kasi, recognition, these are bonus kasi yan. Mga bonus yan eh. Because hindi naman yan yung pinagtatrabahuhan natin. Okay? We are creating films, we are creating parang especially this kind of stories because we have, like what I've said, I have a commitment to my craft. So yung commitment ko is more of telling, truthful story. So if I want, if you're asking me what kind of director I want to be remembered, so I want to be remembered as telling stories that are honest and truthful. So, siguro yun ang gusto ko at yun ang hindi mawawala sa mga films ko at sa trabaho ko.
The realism of
Yes.
Brillante Mendoza.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go to our questions from social media. Toy RJ Pasco asks, what motivates you to make the films you make?
Well, to be very honest, ordinary people, story about ordinary people. When I go out of the street and I see people, they sell cigarettes, that's a story in itself.
Ang daming storyang
Daming
ganyan.
story, di ba?
Endless.
Endless. It's endless, When you go inside the elevator on my way up here, I'm listening to, people's story.
Everybody around you.
Yeah, and that's a story in itself. And these are stories of real people. These are stories of ordinary people. It doesn't have to be, big and, over the top na mga kwento. It doesn't happen, no? It only happens on television. And these are parang imagined stories, no? So, that in itself is already inspires me. Parang, wow, but hindi ako ganon? But may ganon silang buhay? Problema pala nila yon, And a lot. You just have to look around you. And,
Open your eyes.
Open your eyes. And
yes.
other than that, you just have to feel, other people's story. Kasi sometimes it's not just about, oy, ang ganda ng kwento mo. Oy, ang ganda ng kwento niya. I'm gonna make a film out of your story.
Dapat hindi lang maganda.
No.
Diba?
Oo. Ano yung take mo dun sa kwento niya? Bakit, say for instance, bakit may isang cigarette vendor would earn, for instance, 250 pesos a day and isasoli niya yung 500 kapag may napulot siyang 500. Saan nanggagaling yun, di ba?
Oo.
Saan nanggagaling yung kwento
That
na yun?
virtue.
Yes, that virtue. But meron siyang virtue na gano'n. Anong pinanggalingan nun? Or versus, for instance, somebody would just commit suicide, jump from the building. Bakit siya and you just want to make a film about somebody jumping from the building and committing suicide. It's not just, being that. It's not the sensationalism of the story. It's more of the, what's your take? Diba?
What's your take on this?
Yeah,
Speaking of television, you mentioned television. Do you see yourself ever working in Philippine television?
Again. Siguro, like what I've said a while ago, there are filmmakers, directors who are very good at this doing that.
So you know your niche.
Yes, siguro,
and you will focus on that.
Yeah. I know what I want. So siguro it's not my world. So hindi yun yung mundo ko. And I'm happy to where I am right now. Hindi yung not because I have something against mainstream or television. No, it's not that. They have a different audience, no, and they have a different views about about the world.
And
so,
would you say that your audience is more global? I mean,
parang ako, I don't wanna, it's not for me to say that. So it's really for the for the audience to say that, for the people who watch my films.
I'm saying that. G. Tonji is saying that Brillante Mendoza's audience is on a global scale because it's people from all over the world that recognize that you're trying to tell stories about our people.
Exactly. Like for instance, I've just been to Belarus, and these are Belarusians, Russian people, and they've seen Thy Womb was shot actually in Tawi-Tawi, the tiniest island from the southern part of the Philippines, and even most of us Filipinos don't know about their culture, the people, and this tribe, the Bajau, And when I showed the film, it's really something. This is what really inspires me, because even after the Q&A, the people, they would stay, and they would really want to ask some more, about the people, about the culture. Are they really doing that? Are there really women who are like that in your country? How come they are doing that? What's the government doing with this tribe or with these people?
Nothing.
And all that,
Yes.
and then yung kanilang mat, no? We have our national artists coming from that island,
Yes.
no? Yung sa weaving, no? And these are work of art talagang pag nakita mo, no? So these things kasi, ito yung parang ang sarap ng feeling,
kasi they're able to take a look
yes, exactly,
at something that they would never
yes,
have
exactly.
experienced before.
Yeah, actually nanggaling itong ito na, that's why, I was saying it became a commitment, because when I did my first feature, the Masahista, so ano yan, di ba? Masahista. When you say masahista, okay yan, yan, parang medyo may pagka-sex yan kasi nagmamasahe, etc. and all that. And when I presented this film in Locarno actually the second oldest festival in the world. At that time, 8 years ago, it's already on their 50th year already. So that's how old that festival was. No? So medyo, and eto ako pinesent ko yung a small film I did, and then an audience stood up after the screening, and then medyo may pagka-arrogante, alam mo naman ng mga, it's not really arrogant, but their take of, sabi nila, we don't know anything about the Philippine cinema, blah blah blah, because they're only exposed to Chinese films and all that, but not from the Philippines, and we don't know so much about your country. But when I saw your film, when watching your film today, I saw your culture and I saw your people, and it's as if I was brought to the Philippines. Parang suddenly I saw your country. I
experienced what it means.
Yes.
And as
So,
a filmmaker,
and
I'm
as a
sure
film-
nakakataba ng puso
Nakakataba
yun.
ng puso yun. Kasi unang-una parang, wow, ganun pala yung nakikita ng mga tao abroad.
Okay, so we have a question from Edgar Timajo. What are your favorite movies?
Well, of course, I used to watch a lot of Lino Broca movies. I used to watch a lot of Mike De Leon movies, ganyan. And because of my itong trabaho ko ngayon, I am exposed to yung mga world cinema.
Yes, you've been watching all these films from all over the world.
Yes. Oo.
Who are the up-and-coming filmmakers that you have seen at the festivals that you're excited about?
Well, actually, there's this one young filmmaker from Kazakhstan, si Emir. No, I've seen his film. This film is a big winner in Berlin, and he has really a great talent. He's only 23, 24.
Wow.
He's very young, but he's a big talent.
So speaking of young aspiring talent, there are a lot of people that are watching that want advice from the Brillante Mendoza. What advice can you give to aspiring young filmmakers?
Well, ito palagi ko sinasabi, because this is my observation, not only in the Philippines, the filmmakers here in the Philippines, but also, yung mga, the filmmakers who've been there, the big ones, the ones with talagang we've already created a name for themselves. When I talk to them, it always boils down to a very, simple thing as commitment. It's the commitment and hard work. Passion is not enough, because everybody can be passionate about their work, but, being committed to your work, and at the same time, parang tatrabahuhin mo yan eh. Okay, it's really, at the end of the day, it's all about hard work. Parang dreams don't just happen.
Yes.
Okay, you have to work hard for this dream.
I see. All right, we have a Instagram question from Pauline Yao. What do you think it takes for Filipinos to consistently produce films that are of international caliber? What are the greatest challenges in doing this?
Well, this story has to be global, like what I've said, okay? And at the same time, you have to know your market. You have to know your market, okay? You have to understand that, the kind of films that we make, these are not mainstream movies. So you have a niche market, okay? So you have to identify your market and create films for them, Okay, you cannot be, you cannot be doing films, but you want to have the mainstream, but your film is not really mainstream. So you have to identify, you have to, you have to know. You cannot be everything. Hindi pwedeng ganon, hindi pwedeng ganon, okay? Kapag mainstream ka, you know that your market are mainstream. So you make films for the mainstream, and that was really, if that's your intention, at yun yung ano mo, so, yun ang gagawin mo, no? So you just have to focus. Dapat alam mo yung...
So ano yung talagang pinakamalaking challenge?
Well, of course, the greatest challenge for every filmmaker, especially independent filmmakers, not only here in the Philippines, but global din yan, no, is the funding.
Yes.
Okay, because especially ito yung mga klaseng mga films na ginagawa, mga kwento na ginagawa namin are not really, they're medyo kakaiba kasi yung mga kwento, right? Like what I've said kanina, iba yung kwento ng mainstream, iba yung kwento na gusto namin gawin, na global or about issues. So, easily, wala ka na kagad funding sa mainstream. So, yun palagi ang ano. So, every time, every film is always a challenge. Kasi, kailan ko ba ipipitch ito? Kanino ko ba ipipitch itong kwento na to? Who will take this kind of story? So, like for instance, I have a lot of stories in my mind, pero I know na, one project has to wait for like several years. It really
It's also timing.
It's also timing. It's also timing. Like for instance, I've been thinking about these issues that I'm trying to inject dito sa horror genre na to. But, matagal na to eh. 2 years ago pa to or last year pa to. Corona, ano pa to. Nag-start yan sa impeachment ni, Corona. So, doon nag-start yung issue na yon. So, until I was finally, put it together dito sa horror genre. So,
okay, so Sapi is showing today.
yes, today.
Very exciting today, and
nervous.
you've spent your day, the opening of your film here at Rappler.
Yeah.
We can't thank you enough.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Kulang talagang oras to talk to someone as brilliant as you. Really, I wish we had more time. It's such a pleasure talking to you, really.
Same here.
Thank you so much for bringing so much recognition to the world about the Philippines.
It's an honor.
Oh, thank you so much. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Sapi is showing today, November 6th, at all cinemas. So don't miss out on Brillante Mendoza's latest film. Before we end, can you please divulge with Rappler, what are you working on next? This is always the exciting part before we go.
Okay, I'm working on right now about the underground, underage boxing, mixed martial arts in the Philippines.
Interesting. Aabangan namin yan. Thank you so much,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Brillante Mendoza, and thank you for joining us here at the Rappler Studios. We'll see you again next time. Thank you.
Thank you.